Deebo is not really playing up to Deebo standards. Deebo is more, seems like he's more focused on his pregame attire than he is actually the game.
We just had Woody Page on, who, on ESPN covered the Broncos for many years. And we were just talking about Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan and kind of the fatigue, I guess, that set in Denver before, he ended up going to a different team. Do you get that sense from the Niner players or the Niner culture right now that there's a fatigue, or is it just a hangover from the Super Bowl last year?
No, I don't think so. I think every year is different, and I think that's what everybody has to understand. There's not going to be a year like the year before, and obviously, like I said, with the type of players that they have, obviously there's high expectations to get back to that point. But no 2 years are alike. You have injuries that will factor into the way the guys are playing, the record. Every year there's an influx of you got draft picks, you got free agents. Everybody has to fill in. Everybody has to have some continuity, some chemistry. Again, you look at Christian McCaffrey. Again, if he was healthy, would they be different had he played early on? Probably so. So again, that probably factors in too. You got the guy Jordan Mason, the guy that came down undrafted free agent. He came in and started to play well. Now he's hurt. So now, as an offensive coordinator, you got to figure out ways to make up for the lack of production and that firepower that you have on offense. You lost Brandon Ayuk. Again, the contract situation that he had. Obviously, like I said, the chemistry, him coming back, not really playing up to his standards. Then he gets hurt. So now you're trying to plug and play. So, again, everybody's going to be spoiled based on what they've done the last 2 or 3 years. But at the end of the day, can they right the ship by the time the playoff starts to roll around toward the end of the season? Can they get themselves in a situation to play solid football going into the playoffs?
Well, it starts this Sunday as we're talking to T.O. in Green Bay. We'll get back to the celebrity pickleball basketball because we've got more info on that. But Brock Purdy, what are you seeing for Brock Purdy? He's scrambling a lot. Seems like receivers are not getting open. Or is that just a byproduct of Purdy just rushing to get out of the pocket? What have you seen from the quarterback of the Niners, T.O.?
As a quarterback, you're only going to go and do things that you're comfortable with. And if the line, if the protection is breaking down, if receivers aren't getting open, again, he's used to a certain caliber of receivers that he's been playing with throughout the course of the year and getting open. And if those guys aren't getting open for whatever reason, then he either has to get out of the pocket, try to make some plays with his feet. If those guys are open, of course, he's going to throw the ball. I don't think he's just running just to be running. I'm sure there's a lot of things that factors into why he's taken off more so than ever now. Again, Jauan Jennings, he's been the brightest spot on that offense, since day one of this year. And I think, again, Jauan Jennings can only do so much. Jauan Jennings is a playmaker. I don't see him as a game changer. You have guys like game changing, playmaking and game changing ability. That's your Christian McCaffrey that can take any play at any given point during the course of a play and make something happen. That's not your Jauan Jennings, but he's been super productive. He's been the brightest spot on that offense. So again, obviously, like I said, again, I'm going to be redundant. Every year is not going to be the same. Again, you're playing with different pieces every week, and until there's some continuity, some chemistry. There's not going to be any offensive production that you're expecting.
What do you make of fans wanting to fire Shanahan? He's been highly successful. He's in his 8th year. He had a 54-29 record entering this season over the last 5. What do you make of fans wanting to fire the head coach when things are not going well?
Well, fans should stay in their seat and be fans. They're not GMs. That's all I can say. It's easy to say that and want to discard or just uproot a coach because things aren't going the fans' way. But again, like I said, that's why you separated it. There's players, there's football players, there's fans. You come there, you root on your team. Yeah, I understand the fan support. You want your teams to win. You want your players to play the best. But again, stay in your lane. I don't think this is a reason to just uplift and uproot a coach because things aren't going well. It's been an up and down season, but you got to factor in, again, a lot of the injuries, a lot of the new pieces coming in. You can't just write that ship right away. This is not a plug and play. It's not a video game that you can put somebody in and then they can obviously duplicate the ability or the production of somebody that was playing in right before them. That's just not how the game works.
T.O., you referenced Jauan Jennings earlier, and I'm 100% with you. Like, what Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and those guys, I mean, they get, like you, could take one on a slant 80 yards on any given play, right? And that really was the separator for the elite players. But Jauan Jennings is nasty. And with all respect to the other wide receivers that have played since your time in San Francisco, Bolden and Crabtree and the current crop of Ayuk and Pearsall and Deebo and whatnot, Jennings is the only guy that's got that nasty stiff arm that you had. I mean, you and him, obviously you were way faster and just a dynamic player, but I see a lot of the things that you brought in terms of that nasty physical breaking tackle stuff from Jauan Jennings. I love watching this guy play.
Absolutely. Again, like I said, I think the only thing that he lacks is that breakaway speed. Taking, like I said, he has the physical attributes to do some of the to bring some of that physicality to the game. But obviously taking your short and intermediate routes, taking it to the house. He obviously has a catch radius. He can make plays. He can go up, like I said, take 50-50 balls and turn those to 80-20, per him. And so, again, I've seen that and watched it progressively. And, again, this guy, like I said, he's going to make himself some money somewhere. I know he's on a. I don't know what his contract situation is, but obviously, like I said, he's auditioning. Obviously, he's playing well for the Niners. But again, if you looked at it at the beginning of the season, and obviously with the Brandon Ayuk situation, contract situation looming at that time, I told my son, I'm watching him play. I'm like, yo, he's playing like he's the $30 million a year type of guy. And Brandon Ayuk, like I said, come back. I don't know if it was an in-shape thing, but obviously things factored in the way that they did. But again, Jennings was like I said, the lone bright spot of that offensive unit of the San Francisco 49ers. And again, like I said, if he's right now is a focal point. Obviously, they got Kittles. Again, he's been battling injuries here and there. Deebo is not really playing up to Deebo standards. Deebo seems like he's more focused on his pregame attire than he is actually the game. So again, if we can shift that focus, maybe that can energize and create some more production, from an offensive standpoint. I'm just kind of tongue in cheek with that, but again, Jauan Jennings, like I said, to your point, dynamic player. Like I said, the only thing I think he lacks is, like I said, is that game-changing ability. Yeah, he's a playmaker, go up, make plays, but he can only do so much. He needs somebody else to complement what he's doing from an offensive standpoint. Like I said, the running game has to come along the way as well. So I'm sure the more games that Christian gets back on the field, he can get back in there and get back to himself, then you'll probably see that offensive firepower that everybody's expecting as the season wears on.